Welcome to Travel Devil. I'm your host Clara Francken, and in a world full of mass tourism, we're here to talk about unconventional travel. Let's get into it. Alrighty, welcome to Travel Devil. Today I am alone. I'm your host Clara Francken, and today I just want to wrap a little bit and tell you a bit more about what's going on behind the scenes. Because I think maybe that's interesting for you, because, I'm making this podcast, and in the beginning I did a couple of solo episodes, and then I just kind of stopped, and I published most of my interviews, but then I wouldn't post every week. I'm not so good at it. But now my new idea is to post every week, and if I didn't manage to have an interview edited, I can just come on here, give you some updates about what's going on, what some learnings that I recently have, especially related to trains, because I think I know a lot about slow traveling by train. So I can share a lot of that experience, tell you a bit more about what my life has been. So let's get into this. To start off, I wanted to say that I feel like I need to be home more. And I feel like I've been traveling a lot lately. If I go back, I think I started traveling a lot in April, because in April I am in Germany, right? So at the end of April, there's the Frühlingsfest in Germany, in München, which is kind of like Oktoberfest, which like the beer festival. And they have the similar party, let's say, but in more summertime. So it's in April. So it's like right before summer, so it's spring, right? And so there's a big flea market over there where you can buy all kind of stuff. So I've been over there the weekend after I went to Paris. Went to Paris with my mom, and I had a lot of fun over there. I took the train to Paris, which was a high-speed train, which was pretty nice and super easy to get to Paris from Germany. So I was very happy. And then I was there for a weekend with my mom, and then I left for the very first time in my life to the US. I was in LA, I was in New York, and I took the Amtrak. Didn't take the Amtrak as much as I could have, but I kind of focused these holidays also on seeing my friends and not only on traveling by train so much. And then I came back to Germany after that. Like 2 weeks later, I was in Slovenia, got there again by public transport. And then I was in Germany again, then I was in Belgium, and now I'm in Germany again. And literally this weekend, I'm going away again within Germany, but still on the road. So I feel like I need a break. But let me share a bit of a backstory, because I feel like I'm traveling a lot by sustainable means of transport. I'm not the best. So, of course, I didn't swim to the US. So for a couple of things, I still do take the plane, and I want to be transparent on that. I'm trying to be as sustainable as possible. So most of my trips are by bus or by train, basically. And I want to share a bit of those stories today. But I also want to share that I have a past where I did travel a lot by plane. And maybe it's interesting to see the difference between what I used to do and what I now do. And obviously there's more options now, but I think it's also about being open-minded about these other options. So basically, the first time I went to Germany from Belgium, I took the car to come, because I was moving for my Erasmus, which is an exchange. And then when I came back from Germany to see my family over the holidays, I thought the easiest thing would be to take the Ryanair plane, because it was obviously super cheap and the only option I would have thought of. And I didn't really think about the trains back then. This was 8 years ago. So I took the plane. My grandparents picked me up at the airport. It was fun. And then I realized only after that actually I could have just taken a train. And I was kind of disgusted by my own choice. not in a like very bad way, but I was getting into the sustainability aspect of things, and I was reflecting on me taking the plane for such a small distance. And I was like, okay, this is actually weird. So I looked into this, and then I realized that if I buy my tickets ahead of time, it's not only like better for the environment, it's actually even cheaper. I can use my time on the road way better, because compared to a plane, I didn't have to wait to get in the plane, then take the plane, then wait to get, like, I don't know, wait for my luggage and stuff, and then only be 1 hour in the air, but be like 6 hours on the road, because you need to get to the airport, or even longer, maybe. You need to get to the airport, you need to get from the airport back. So you're like gone a whole day, to be honest. And by train as well, but you can use all of this time, basically. Okay, this was a little introduction, but for this last trip where I went to Slovenia, I went by public transport, and I don't say train because I wasn't going by train. I used to go to Slovenia by plane, then it was from Belgium because Belgium is a bit further away when I had a long distance relationship with my boyfriend. I'm talking a bit all over the place, but basically after my Erasmus in Germany, where I met my boyfriend, he did Erasmus in Slovenia. I went up to visit him, and basically the easiest thing to do was to take the plane between Belgium and Slovenia. But then I moved to Germany with him, and from here it's actually pretty easy to take the train to Slovenia, which is so fun. So I used to take the train a couple of times because obviously, well, not obviously, but we do go back to Slovenia a couple of times. Anyway, I try to go there by train now, but because of works on the tracks, which is probably a good thing, they're improving the tracks and improving the trains. At the moment, it's kind of almost impossible to get to Ljubljana by train. So I had to take the bus. And that brings me to Flixbus, which is my very first episode on my podcast. Wow. Yeah. So Flixbus and I are not the best friends. I remembered why when I was on the bus. Because, the bus that I was taking was basically connecting the south of Germany with Slovenia, going all the way to Zagreb, which is in Croatia. So what we did, we took the train to München. And then from München, this is the south of Germany, we took the Flixbus. And this Flixbus was everything you're afraid of when you're entering a Flixbus, meaning the toilet is broken, it's smelly, the seats are not clean, the neighbors are noisy. My neighbors had also had a lot of fun drinking and talking loud, very loud. Baby was screaming. The driver was not helpful. He actually didn't even speak any of the languages I speak, and I speak 5. So sadly, I don't speak Croatian or Slovenian, so I don't have any language close to that one. So I couldn't communicate, only with the driver's help, basically, but he kind of told us to fuck off, basically. So we had to clean our own seats at our first stop. We cleaned, it's not really the seat, it was more like the little table in front of the seat, which was super dirty. We were sitting next to a neighbor who was really he was really talking a lot about his businesses. He had great businesses, but he also had a lot of friends who were in prison. And then, he had his girlfriend was having drinking problems, or I don't know. It was a really weird conversation going on. Just like my neighbor and his neighbor, basically, because we are sitting on one side of the aisle and they are sitting on the other side of the aisle. And then this guy was really intrigued, and he was like, oh, wow, yeah, telling all of these stories. And then this one guy who was sharing all these stories was like, yeah, are you looking for a job? Because I can offer you a job. I mean, people don't get paid well enough in the Balkan region. I can pay you better. I will make sure you are well paid, and blah, blah, blah. And this guy actually legitimately gave a visit card to the dude, and the dude was super excited of maybe this new opportunity. And I was listening to this listening to this, not so judging. I was kind of like listening as it was entertaining. And as we went out, my boyfriend explained, and he was like, yeah, probably, I mean, we're not sure, but probably this is some kind of mafia scammy thingy. So basically, yeah, all of the things he was talking about was like black market money, or like they were doing things like under the radar, which was obviously making money, but also making sure that that's probably why all of his friends are in prison and they have like drinking issues and stuff. So it was entertaining to be on the bus again. Always entertaining, but not always the best. You're always happy when you're not alone on the bus, or you have like some side person you're not sitting next to the weird people. But yeah, that was a Flixbus. And then we went to Slovenia, and then we took another Flixbus to get to Zadar, which is at the seaside. And there was at the time, at least for that day, no bus that went straight from Slovenia, Ljubljana, to Zadar. So we had to do like a kind of a road which went in the wrong direction to then be in the right country and then go back towards the seaside, which meant that we took the bus that went from Ljubljana to Zagreb and then from Zagreb to Zadar. Those buses were very clean. We only had one issue, that actually in the second, like the last bus, we had actually booked a seat to sit in the front because I wanted to make some videos and I also just wanted to enjoy the view. So we were sitting in the front and there was a lady who was like, no, I'm sitting here. And we were like, yeah, but we paid for the seats. And she was like, no. You can sit wherever you want in the bus. First come, first serve. And we're like, yeah, no, actually you don't. We have reserved these seats. You know, like trying to be friendly, but also like this lady was not moving at all. She was like, she was like, no, this is my ride. I'm sitting here. I'm staying here. And so we had to actually tell the bus driver, like, hey, we're sorry, but we booked the seats. Can you talk to the lady because she won't listen to us? And the bus driver had to kick her to another seat. And she was like angry, upset, like the first hour of the ride. She was like talking, like very annoyed. Anyway, besides that, the bus is fun, you know? And I think what is maybe more fun about it is sometimes people tell me, I will say what I think. Sometimes people tell me like, yeah, you tell all of these bad stories about traveling by bus as well, like, or by train. But there's a lot of bad stories about traveling by plane as well. And by plane, there's so many issues that can come up. Like, also a plane canceling, there's no next plane. I've had it, the plane was fully booked, and because what was it called? This check-in was done too late, the plane was already full, and so we couldn't even get on the plane because they basically overbooked it, because there's always a chance that somebody's not showing up or something. Super weird rule. Yeah, so I mean, those are like major issues, and you cannot even, like, you can never arrive to your destination fast enough. If that happens in a bus and a train, you will always arrive at your destination, and at the same time you will have some funny weird stories to tell, like I'm doing right now. So I'm not complaining, I'm just explaining some stories from the road and hope that they're entertaining. Okay, so basically I think next time we're going to do a little talking, you and me, basically me rambling to my computer who's in front of me. I might want to talk a bit about Amtrak. So if you have any questions about how it was in the US, please DM me, because I'm trying to find a way to have this more like a mutual thing. Because at the moment I create all of this and I see that there's people listening, but I'm not getting so much response. So I want to say there is an Instagram page which is called Travel Devil Pod. You can go ahead and follow it, like DM me and let me know what you think of the show, or tell me something you want to know. Because I did a whole episode about Amtrak, but I recorded all of that before my own experience. So it was a really, really interesting episode, and I would highly recommend it if you're interested in like the railway industry in the US. It was a great, great episode. I really loved it. But at the same time, I think it's also cool to talk from my own experience. I think this next solo is going to be a bit about that. So if you have questions about that, I would love to answer them. And besides that, you can also just reach out to me on my own Instagram, which is Clara Francken, which is just my name with a CK. I'm not even sure on how to pronounce it in English. Clara Francken? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I just want to get into a couple of questions. I did send out a message like literally 1 hour ago to ask people if they have any questions. So I received 2 questions by now. It's a bit too last minute to get a lot of responses, obviously, but I'm gonna go ahead and answer them. So basically the first question was, do you have any future collabs? So this is a fun one because I didn't even talk about podcast things, and it's kind of podcast related, I think, this question. So yeah, I do have a lot of upcoming interviews. Actually, I think I've got even 5 episodes that still need to come out. So I got a lot of episodes stacked. My issue is more editing. But yeah, I think the last episode I did was a lot of fun. I interviewed Joe Sills. This episode will only go out, I think, somewhere in August. But basically, Joe is a writer and photographer. He's written for Lonely Planets, Nat Geo, I think, Forbes. So he used to have his own podcast, which kind of made him a good person to talk to on a podcast because I feel like he was entertaining and we were really vibing. So I think that episode will be a lot of fun. It was also a bit more random episode because we didn't discuss so much what we would talk about beforehand. And then it just came about that the whole topic would be about cruises and the sustainability aspect of cruises and like sustainable options for cruises, such as more like a sailing ship instead of a cruise, basically like a cruise with sails, I would say. So yeah, that's fun. That's coming up. I really love speaking to people. Also, by the way, if we're on the topic of like mutual connection with you and me, you're listening at home and me talking here, if you have any guests you want to suggest, please let me know. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead to my phone and check for the other question. Okay, this other question is very specific. So it's basically asking me if I would choose Ouigo or Eurostar. I think this is because I'm posting a bit of content about the train between France and Belgium, which is kind of out of the blue for what I all talked about right now, but I'm going to get into this. So basically there's a train between Brussels and Paris, and I took that train last week. And I used to go by Eurostar. It's a very fancy, beautiful train. It's super easy, super convenient. You're like from Brussels to Paris in 1 hour, 40 minutes, something like that. So it's super convenient, super easy. People are nice. It's fancy. It's clean. It's everything you need. But it's a bit expensive. And now there's basically a new solution for that. I think they started like December 2024. I'm not sure. And basically what they've done is they used trains that were actually meant to go from Brussels to Paris for the Olympic Games because the Olympics were in Paris. And then that was never really promoted so much. And those tickets were only on sale in Belgium and not for people from Paris. And it was only like available on the Belgian website, which is not so accessible. And so now basically the Belgium and MBS SNCB, which is our railways company, they collided for this train with Ouigo, which is a part of the French railway company SNCF, I think. So you have Ouigo in France, which is this cheaper railway department of the French company. And then you have the SNCB in Belgium. And basically these are Belgian trains, like old Belgian trains, which are just being used on the tracks. It's very slow, but it's a nice trip if you're only between Belgium and France and you're not in a hurry. It takes you there in 3 hours, and the ticket prices are actually way lower. So the cheapest ticket you can find is for 10 euros, And compared to the Eurostar, the cheapest price you will find for the Eurostar will be 30 euros, which is definitely okay, but it's still quite expensive in most cases because the prices can go really up. And the Ouigo stays kind of on a low basis. I think the Eurostar could go up to like 150 or more, and the Ouigo will stay like under 50. So it's like if you have a last minute trip, the Ouigo will be way cheaper. Yeah. So I think, to answer the question, which one to choose, I think it depends on what you want. Do you want to have a cheap trip, or do you need to be in Paris like very quickly? If you need to go and come back on the same day, I would say take the Eurostar and plan it ahead so that it's not too expensive. Because the Eurostar does also operate way more during a day. This Ouigo train, I think they only operate 3 times a day. So you only have one in the morning and one in the evening. And so obviously you could do that, but it's going to be like a very long day on the train because you're going to be like the double amount of time on the train, basically. So yeah, that's it. Those were the 2 questions. Now, last thing I want to say, go ahead and follow this podcast I have. Go ahead and click on the follow button, please. I've heard that it would be helpful. So I'm here to promote it. So please go ahead and do that. Wherever you listen to the show, give me a rating or just click that follow button so you know the next week's episode. And I'm going to give you a little spoiler. Next week's episode is going to be about DNS. The DNS, they're a lot of fun. They're an alternative education school for teachers. So basically it's like trainee teachers, and they are going by bus from Europe to Africa, from Denmark to Africa. And then they go through many different countries. Jawohl. Speaking German now. But yeah, basically they go fast through Europe and then they go slowly through Africa. They have a lot of investigations over there. And I interviewed a girl who participated in that specific teacher training program, which is kind of awesome, right? These people are going to be teachers and they have traveled like through so many countries and talked to so many different people. So it's like an alternative way of learning. And I kind of love the idea. I learned a lot by just talking to her about this. So next week that's going to come up. So I hope you have now clicked on that follow button and you're intrigued. And next week, Thursday, you're going to be impressed by the motivation of a lot of 18, 19-year-olds who are traveling the world by bus. Thank you so much for listening. And I wish you a beautiful rest of your night or day, wherever you are. Bye-bye. Take care. This was Travel Devil, brought to you by me, your host, Clara Francken. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to continue the conversation or suggest any future guests, you can go to my Instagram @Clara Francken. Take care, and I will see you next Thursday.